Just a bit ago, we saw highlights of the Eastland boys winning big at the Pecatoniga MLK tournament this week. Last year, the Cougars finished second at state in Class 1A.
Yeah, and despite graduating some great players like Adam Allwender, Peyton Spears, and Tanner Stern, they're sitting right now with a record of 17-2. Let's learn more about Eastland with head coach Tyler Zumdahl. Tyler, you were in a unique position going into a season coming off a state finalist type game last year, which very few teams had that opportunity. So I'm curious, with a couple of really key guys coming back this year, over the summer, last summer, and going into this season, how high did you set the bar for this year as a team?
You know, I let the guys kind of set that bar. You know, we kind of talked about what their goals were moving forward with this year. You know, and a little bit to my surprise, you know, a lot of them had the same goals or even loftier goals, you know, which is pretty small margin. So as a coach, that got me excited that was kind of the mindset. So then it was my job to kind of help, you know, motivate them or put them in positions where we could try to go after that. You know, we knew that there needed to be a lot of work to get done to achieve that, and I've been really happy with, you know, the work ethic and the leadership that we've had step up this year to try to reach those goals.
You lost an all-state point guard, and those are hard to replace, and I know you can't do it with one guy, but kind of how has your team adapted and adjusted? Who do you rely on, one guy now to be your point guard? Is it a committee of guys doing it? How are you adjusting there without Adam?
Yeah, you know, we've had guards like Harper Kime and Wyatt Carroll step up. You know, Parker Krogman's taking a bigger role handling the ball. You know, the best thing about this group is they're a tight group. You know, they work together well. You know, so they help put each other in good positions, help push each other in practice. So, you know, while certain guys have stepped up, you know, it's been a collective effort to just kind of do what needs to be done in a lot of different areas.
You mentioned Parker Krogman, so we see, you know, the points and the rebounds that show up on the box scores, but what are some of the intangibles that he brings to the team that you really like?
You know, just his instincts. He's played a lot of basketball. He's got a great feel for the game. You know, no moment or two opponent is too big for him. You know, and I think one thing that kind of gets overlooked a little bit is, you know, how good he is defensively and the pride that he takes in that. You know, we feel like he's a guy that can, you know, really kind of guard anybody and make it hard for them. And that's a really big boost to our team defense that we rely so much on.
And the same with Zy Haverland. What are some of the intangibles about his game that don't show up in the box score?
You know, to have a guy like Zy with his kind of size and athletic ability, you know, it's pretty unique in small school basketball. He's just such a gamer, so physical, just willing to do the dirty work, you know, not afraid to mix it up and get bumped and bruised and nose plugs in every other game type of thing. So he just brings such a strong physical presence, and his leadership, you know, he knows what we're doing. He's not afraid to communicate that with his teammates, which is huge.
You guys have won a lot of games this year and a lot of close ones, five I think, by 2 points or less. So on the upside, I think that's a positive that shows your guys can handle those tense moments, those down-to-the-wire games. How good do you feel about the composure they've showed and being able to pull out those tight ones?
Yeah, as a coach, you know, I always feel like there's things we could have done to not be in those situations, but I give our guys a ton of credit. You know, and I think that's just something that not even me or the coaching staff is doing. Those guys have just played a lot of basketball. They have a lot of trust in each other. You know, they just kind of are able to play basketball in those moments instead of thinking about where the ball needs to go or what needs to be done. And in different situations, different guys have stepped up. So that's just them, you know, trusting in each other and going out and playing basketball and not worrying about the situation too much.
We're only a little over a month away from regional time. This time of the year, do you tighten the screws a little bit, raise the expectation for the guys to make sure they're polished and they're ready to go when the regionals do roll around?
You know, I think we try to do that right from the start. You know, we really try to get our guys doing what we need to do to be successful right from that first day. You know, you start getting into this time of the year. Hopefully there's not too much of that to clean up, but yeah, if there's things that we notice that we're not doing, you know, we need to make sure we're doing that. And hopefully at this point of the season, you know, the guys are understanding what we need to do, and if we're not doing it, you know, how to bring each other out of that and get it done, which I think I'm starting to see, which is a good thing.
In Class 1A this year, looks to be a bit wide open in this area of the state, so Eastland could once again make a deep run come tournament time.
Yeah, Krogman is a heck of a player, and the Cougars are very well coached.